Hey guys, it's me again, and for this video we're starting off with a art space tour. So let's sit down here. So first of all, we've got vinyls. I've only got 5 as of now, but collection grows and has been growing over time since Christmas, which is when I got my first ones. So I've got Stankonia, Man on the Moon Part 3, Igor, Dark Side of the Moon, and Good Kid, Mad City. All amazing albums, even better on vinyl. Then I got some Pink Floyd stickers. And here's the space itself. So as you can see, it's kind of a mess over here. I've got, this is where you guys have seen. It's just a little cardboard pad, just so that I don't get Sharpie on the floor like I did over here. Then I've got this box, which is where I get my colored pencils from. As you can see, a whole bunch of colored pencils. There are acrylic paints, which we have not gotten into yet. Maybe we will this episode. Probably not though, since those will take a bit of time to dry and everything, which I'd rather not deal with. So there's that, and then here's where I keep all of my finished drawings, other than ones that are like in notebooks. As you can see, we've got all of that sticky note there that I actually never finished. Then we've got random art supplies, paper. And then on here, just got a lot of doodads. Some of the drawings on my wall. So I've got a stack of cans, Xbox, Robot Woman, fan, which we will be turning off for the video. All this stuff. If anyone knows where to get more of these little turtle guys, I want more. Awesome. We got what's the name? Dark Knight or whatever from Fortnite, that Funko Pop. Got a carved wooden shark. And we've got an unopened, I didn't want to take this one out of the package just to keep it in good shape, Duke Silver Funko Pop. Hell Wasp from D&D. I just thought it was a cool figurine. I own a D&D set, but I haven't actually played before. Rubik's Cube, throwing knives, little pottery that I made with all my change in it, and Mr. Potato Head. Oh, and I've also got some rocks. Alright, so that's kind of all I have over here. And let's get into the drawing. So, I'm thinking we just do another doodle in this notebook. I realize there's the perfect gap between this and, let's flip it over to between this drawing and this drawing for one more. So, I think we go in here. Let's see, make sure I'm not going to bleed onto any of these other pages. Yep, should be good. So, let's start off. Today's topic, I did decide beforehand for this one, other than the other two. It probably will go off the rails at about the 5-minute mark, but we're going to talk about mushrooms. So, first of all, something that might be of use is my Abaddon Mushroom Guide. Now I'm thinking we also try and incorporate some mushroom-like imagery in there. But as you can see, I've got some annotation in there. I'm a huge mushroom nerd. So let's start off with not exactly a mushroom shape, but close enough. We'll start off. I don't know if you've noticed, but and this will probably be a theme if I continue to fill out this little composition book. I called it a composite book last episode. We'll just start with that. There you go. That's the whole episode, guys. Mushroom. So we'll start off with that. Just fill it in with stripes, as you do. Let's see. What's a first interesting topic? I'd say, first of all, let's just talk about what I consider my favorite mushroom. And my friends kind of talk about this as a joke, but my favorite mushroom is Amanita muscaria, the fly agaric. This one right here. So, one of the reasons that I think it's very interesting is that not many people know about the mushroom itself, but like, look at the mushroom emoji, look at the, mushroom in Mario, and that's what those are based off of. They're based off of the fly agaric mushroom, Amanita muscaria. And another really interesting part of those is they are poisonous when uncooked. They contain this compound called ibotenic acid. I may not be getting all the facts right, but I hope I am. They contain a compound called ibotenic acid in them, which is a neurotoxin. But when they are cooked or dried properly, that ibotenic acid deoxycarbolizes, probably not pronouncing that word correctly either, into a compound called mucimol, which, guess what, is not poisonous. It is a psychedelic compound that produces effects similar to marijuana. I think that that's just really interesting that something that's poisonous can turn not just by a simple process of drying. And yeah, I think I've talked about how I'm kind of a nerd about psychology. That includes psychopharmacology, which is the study of effects of drugs on the brain, which includes that ibotenic acid and mucimol. So, as you can see, we've just got a few little patterns here going on. Got some stripes. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, I just think that kind of every aspect of that species is interesting. Plus, Amanita is one of the largest genuses of mushrooms, which, adds another layer of interest to it for me. Just because there's so much to study about the genus itself. But another really interesting mushroom, I'd say, is the jack-o'-lantern mushroom. Now, I'm not as well versed in the science behind the species, but they're cool. Here, it's one of the ones that I have marked in my book. Let's see. Here they are. Jack-o'-lantern. Right here. What's very interesting about those is that they are, I'd say, probably the most common bioluminescent species of fungi, which, if you don't know what that word means, it means glows in the dark, like biologically. Although it's a very faint glow, it's still quite interesting that there's a fungi that can do that, I personally think. Because a lot of people hear bioluminescence and they think, jellyfish, deep sea stuff like lichen in caves, but there's also fungi. But yeah, there is I think it's also important to just teach people about fungi, just because of how much there is fungi in media. Like, people should know about that. Plus, there's a lot of people who think, there's kind of two groups of uninformed people when it comes to fungi. There are the people who think, oh, I think I might know what this is, let's eat it. And then there's the group of people who think, like, you can't even touch a mushroom that you don't know what it is, which neither are really true. Fungi, there are no confirmed species other than one in Japan, but that's more speculated, that are poisonous to the touch. All of them are, safe to touch, especially in North America. You have no need to worry about that. But the problem with the other, thought process is safe to touch does not translate to safe to consume. You wouldn't eat, a random plant, so you don't eat a random mushroom. You have to go through a lot of different processes to, figure out what species it is, including spore prints, which are something that I actually, once it comes summertime, might try and implement in some of my art. But you really can't just think you know what something is and eat it. You have to know 100%. And that's another reason that I have this book. If I ever find a mushroom, you can most likely find it in here. Although this is a pretty outdated book. There's information in here that is known to not be true at this point. Like, it refers to fungi as plants. But, like, just species identification-wise, it is very useful. Alright, so there's about half of that page done with. Now I'm thinking this is looking like a good place for my favorite things that I realized I didn't even put in the last one, an eye. And you want to know what that eye is looking like to me? It's looking like the cap of another mushroom. So we can flip this over, do that. I'm thinking, just go kind of all wavy like with this stem here. And we can fill it in with some more lines like that. But another interesting mushroom is, and anyone who is interested in psychopharmacology will know this, or anyone who does drugs will probably know about these. Psilocybe cubensis is another very interesting species in my opinion, not just for, recreational purposes, but I think that psychedelics do have a lot of medical uses, especially with all of the studying that they've been doing in Scandinavia. We've realized that they can have a lot of usefulness in, helping with depression and stuff like that. Now, obviously this is not a video that's this is not a PSA, go out and do drugs. This is more of just talking about how, you shouldn't demonize them as much as you do. Every drug has a use, I'd say. Well, almost every drug has a use. Even the, probably, I don't have a statistic for this, but I'd say probably the most deadly drug, fentanyl, has uses for people who aren't as receptive to normal painkillers and are going through really painful surgery. And again, that doesn't mean go out and take fentanyl if you're in pain, but there's a use for it. I'd say everything has a use case. Plus, for drugs like psychedelics, I am very much against recreational use of opiates and amphetamines, but for drugs like psychedelics and marijuana, there's really not nearly as much that they can do harm-wise compared to other drugs. Especially, lysergic acid diethylamine. They've been doing a lot of testing, again, in Scandinavia with that, and, a single usage of that with the correct, medical setting can help a lot with depression. But again, it's not one size fits all, because if you have, any sort of psychotic issues like bipolar, schizophrenia, it will most likely cause you to have a psychotic break. So yeah, we're at the 12-minute mark, and this has gone off the rails into a discussion about drugs. Which, I mean, talking about mushrooms, that's kind of to be expected, though. Let's see, what's another interesting one that I can pull up in here? We can just talk about, some choice edible mushrooms, like chicken of the woods. This is one that you can kind of see and know what it is. It's probably one of the most commonly known edible mushrooms, just because of its striking orange appearance. But I have not had the chance to try them. I have found a chicken of the woods before, but it was like very dead and very gray, and if I tried to eat it, I would probably just be biting into bug carcasses. But still, it has a very striking appearance. And there's been some work done on actually cultivating chicken of the woods, which was thought to be very difficult. That's another interesting thing, is I think cultivation of fungi is going to be like a next step in scientific progression, other than, the obvious ones like computer sciences and stuff. And even with that, like, genome stuff, I'm not an expert, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but from what I've read, can be used for, like, computer storage. So that could be another use case for fungi. Let's go off the rails again to talking about AI and a discussion of AI art. Now, I'm in the camp that it's a tool, but we need to keep it, on a leash. I think that it has been used unethically, and I think, like, the way that people gather data, especially for, like, the AI image generation, is, in most cases, at least morally ambiguous. At most, just, like, not good. But yeah, I'm not that well read on, that topic necessarily, but I've looked into it a little bit, and I think it's fun to play around with, but, like, we gotta keep it leashed. We can't let it, we can't let people go ham and do whatever they want with AI image generation, especially with, like, a lot of the scandals of it generating, let's say, inappropriate material of people, like real world people. That's obviously not a good thing, and I know that that's probably not what the creators of these tools intended, but it's still a result. We need to be watching out for anything like that happening. And I don't think it'll ever really replace art either, because part of art is the imperfections. So if you are able to perfect this AI, it's not gonna, like, be able to replicate human emotion. Like, I think even if it's able to, like, perfectly recreate, like, a Van Gogh painting, and like make new Van Gogh works, it's still not Van Gogh. It's the human touch that makes it expensive and like awesome. And also the process of how AI makes art is very different from that that of like a human making art. With a human making art, you know, there's a lot of time and thought that goes into it. AI art takes from a data set, like, I believe it uses like reverse noise. Again, I'm not super smart about the technology of all of it. I have a bit of programming experience, but that's halfway, like, well, I guess now like 3/4 of the way through a high school programming class in Python. So I don't really know all there is to know about it. But it uses reverse noise, and it just goes from an image set and figures out what it should do with essentially static. It does. A lot of people have that misconception that it just takes an image and like puts them all together and then plops out a new image. No, it takes images and then it takes basically an image of static and it turns that static into an image. Which I think, like, there's bad faith arguments on each side, and I think that that's one of the sources of bad faith arguments on the anti-AI side, is they, like, talk about how, like, it's just taking people's art and turning it into new art. It's not really doing that. It's a lot more of a complicated process. But that's true of a lot of things, like, again, going off on another tangent, off of a tangent here. But, like, a lot of scientific processes are judged in that way, where people understand it to a very basic degree, and then they say that their basic understanding is wrong. Whoa. Yeah, I'm gonna probably be voice cracking in this video and in the other video today, just because I still have a pretty sore throat. But I do these things for you. But like with scientific arguments and stuff like that, people will say that something is wrong because they can't understand it, or they take a very basic understanding of it and say that that's wrong. And that's really a reductive way to look at the world. But can't really change people. People can only change themselves. So that's another artwork for today. Got 1 mushroom, 2 mushroom, 3 mushroom. You can probably find something else that looks like a mushroom in here somewhere. There's the number 4. Yeah. Thank you, anyone who made it this far, or even if you just skipped to the end to see my closing remarks. Thank you. There's now 3 drawings in here. Hopefully we'll have more soon. Thanks, guys. Do all the stuff, the liking and the subscribing if you like and subscribed. And love you. Bye.